Hey guys, you're listening to Tay Radio on this beautiful Friday. I'm your producer, Gigi Gonzalez.
I'm your host, Brandon Gomez.
I'm your co-host, Emma Romero.
And I'm your co-host, Annalie Reyes.
Make sure to tune in every Friday at 4 p.m. for our live shows.
And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Tay Radio Marin.
Welcome back to Tay Radio, everyone. I'm your host, Annalie Reyes.
I'm your co-host, Santi Hernandez.
And I'm your co-host, Min Soon. On today's show, we hope our audience will be interested in learning more about the domino effects of sea level rising.
On last week's show, we talked about the domino effect of sea level rising and how it can affect the San Rafael area. So we hope that our audience got to learn more about sea level rising, how it works, and how it impacts our community.
Before we do talk about the multi-effects of sea level rising, we are first going to do our quote of the week. We have not done this in a while, so it's time to welcome this section back, guys. Right, for today's quote of the week, I chose, "The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life." And I think it's like a good quote to think and take in. I relate to this quote because there's can be so much situations where you just don't want to do something, but if you just say, okay, I'll do it, it just goes on smoother. Like, for example, a homework or like studying, you don't like, sometimes you're not motivated to do it. And if you just like say, okay, I'll do it, and you just get it off your checklist, and it's better if you have a positive mindset towards stuff that is coming onto your life, and it just makes your life a little bit more smoother. And I'm just saying from my experience. But I do want to add in that, like, if you should always take a break if you're too tired of doing a homework assignment or studying. So yeah, always keep your balance and have a positive mindset. We do want to thank our listeners and watchers who are here right now. We hope you're still interested in hearing about the domino effect of sea level rise. We'll be right back.
Wildfire season is here again. Pacific Gas and Electric will turn off electricity when there is extreme fire danger to reduce the risk of wildfires. Marin residents need to be ready in case of prolonged power outages. First, you can sign up to get notifications about planned power outages. These will tell you when the power outages are likely to happen and how long the power will be out. To receive notifications, text your zip code to 888777. Second, be sure to have a working flashlight, enough food and water for 3 days, and other necessary items stored in your house and or your car. Third, learn about how to prepare to keep your family safe in case of a wildfire or extended power outage. See emergency preparedness information on the readymarin.org website. Please text your zip code to 888777 to get on the alert system today.
We hope you found the PSA helpful. Now we're going to first talk about the cause of sea level rises, and Min will start us off. Sea level continues to rise at a rate of about 1/8 of an inch per year. The two major causes of global sea level rising are thermal expansion, which is caused by the warming of the ocean, and it increased the melting of land-based ice, such as glaciers and ice sheets. So why is the ocean warming up? Santi, do you know anything about this?
The ocean absorbs most of the excess heat from the greenhouse gas emissions, leading to rising ocean temperatures, increasing ocean temperatures affecting marine species and ecosystems. So basically what this means is that the ice that is in the Arctic, it's melting, which is what is causing the ocean to rise up.
And over the past 100 years, the global temperature has risen about 1 degree Celsius. The sea level response to that warming total to 160 to 210 millimeters So it's about 6 to 8 inches.
6 to 8 inches doesn't seem a lot. Or if you think about a large body of water, like the sea rising together all at once, think about how many gallons of water would we need to fill it to make it rise 6 to 8 inches. That's a lot, actually.
And I also want to clarify to our listeners who do not know about the greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas is a gaseous compound in the atmosphere that can absorb radiation and thereby trap and hold heat in the atmosphere. So the more gases in the atmosphere, the more radiation and the more heat will be contained in the atmosphere of the Earth. And that makes the greenhouse effect leads to the global warming, which we are having right now.
Now that we know about the cause of sea level rising, I think we should know how it affects us. So, Annalie, do you know how this affects us?
The global warming affects a lot of stuff, but for sea level rising, it can cause devastation like flooding in neighborhoods. It can destruct the plantation of agriculture. Also, if there's like an island and they do agriculture, or like a place where it's near the ocean, it can cause contamination with the salt of the ocean, which can negatively impact the crops quality, and if it's even able to produce fruits. There can also be a loss of habitats, like the lost habitats of plants, fish, or birds. But since we know a little bit more about the general effects, Santi, what would be an example of a domino effect for sea level rise?
Okay, I'm going to talk about an example of, we mentioned this on the last show, and it's the canal area. But I'm going to talk about it in general, is that, for example, if someone lives near the water, there are many homes there that have a beautiful view and people live there, and the economy is working in that area. There's schools, there's parks, there's businesses, local businesses that are working. So what happens is if sea level rise goes up, that means that people have to move out of there. And for many people, you might think, oh, they just have to move, that's it. But no, it has a big impact on the economy as well. People will lose their jobs. All the schools will be shut down. Those students will be moved. And then that affects not just that local area, but it will affect the areas around it. So for example, if we're thinking about canal area, canal will be affecting, San Rafael, and then Novato, and then, going down to Corte Madera. Research was that animals, like Annalie mentioned, animals live in these areas, and most of them have adapted to the environment that's there. But if that environment is taken away, we could also see a loss of species, of plants, and then we won't be able to see that. So now that I gave two examples of a domino effect, Min, would you like to share any sea level rising effects?
Well, sea level rising effect, it would definitely affect those that are living on islands, of course, As the sea level rise, we're losing more land. But that's not just it. Like hundreds of years in the glaciers, there's many of virus, bacteria stuck in there. And as the water is melting, those virus and bacteria are also coming out. So I don't think it's safe for humanity either. I think we should be aware that sea level rising is just affecting us on the surface of island getting sunk or things like that, but it's more than that. And I also think that we're also not helping the environment in a way that we cause our greenhouse gas to increase more than it should per year. It might not have been our fault, but somehow we should make a plan to protect our forests. Ellie, would you like to share?
Yeah, I wanted to say a little bit about some effects that we didn't mention about global warming. This is different from sea level rise, but it is part of global warming. So, like, an example would be the effect of an outbreak of infections or disease. Um, right now, if the temperature is rising in usual environments that are usually cold, it attracts mosquitoes. Mosquitoes like warmer environments. I haven't researched why they are more adapted to migrating to warmer and more warmer areas, but they do that. And there's been a lot of news how mosquitoes can transmit diseases to a person. And that can be by them like carrying a disease, injecting their saliva inside our skin, and they can pierce into suck in our blood, but at the same time it's transmitting that disease, if that makes sense. Because if they have that disease and it touches your blood is contaminated. And then if that mosquito continues to suck on another person, then another person, and then another person, it just creates an outbreak of diseases. There was gonna be like warmer temperatures around up the US, like up north, and I saw that it was gonna get warmer in those temperatures, warmer in those areas. So you can see like there can be an outbreak there if we're not careful, and are more aware of what can happen, and more if we are more prepared of what we can do about that situation. But we do need to be more attentive with the global warming that's happening right now and what we can do. And I agree with Min that we should do something about it.
I would like to add on to Annalie. Like, since I've been to Thailand, like I go there on a vacation like every single year. Malaria is actually a very big problem there, especially for people that doesn't have like the mosquito nets for when they sleep at night. And many people die from malaria and other disease that the mosquito carry. So I think it really should be something we're looking out for.
It's interesting to see the effects of global warming. Another example is something we've been experiencing already is fires. Because the temperature is getting hotter, it's easier for a small, tiny thing to start a fire. And if you live in California or you've experienced probably a lot of smoke, I know we've been having days where it's sunny, but the smoke covers the sun. So it's crazy. So that's another effect of global temperatures rising up. Annalie, do you want to say anything about that?
I agree with Santi. There's been a lot of fires around where we live, and we can just see how global warming is taking into effect on us right now. And some other states don't see that, which is crazy to think, but other states are not having fires, and they don't see like what's going to happen if we do not take care of global warming. I also wanted to add in that it is fast. It's much more faster for a land to catch on fire because of the drier soil, because of the increase of evaporation with the humid what's called atmosphere. We also saw, like, I don't know about you guys, but I did felt like the humid air when there was the thunderstorm. The thunderstorm is another example of global warming. And like when I went outside and like smelt like it's a weird smell, but it smells like humid air, and it's hard to explain it. But when I went to Guatemala, it's usually humid over there because it's usually warmer there. It's in the coastal region, so it was just weird to see that here, because usually it's not like that in California. Usually it has a balance between warmer and colder days. It's not like to an extent humid, like the atmosphere. So yeah. And remember when I mentioned about the drier soils? Well, that can cause an effect. This is like another domino effect. Like if there is drier soils, of course there will be, the food quality will be affected, because maybe like a watermelon won't have enough water to get its nutrients, and the watermelon won't have any juice in it. Like that's really sad. I don't know about you guys, but I like watermelon that are like juicy with water inside of it. And yeah, it's just, we have to take into consideration about what's happening, and hopefully we can proceed in getting change with that global warming, and see that take part in our next year, when we after the elections, when what we can do with that situation that we have. Santi or Min, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think it's a very serious problem that everyone should take on seriously, since I've seen the effects of like the global warming, like as I walk to work every day. I don't think the marsh around our house, Annalie, I don't know if you saw it, but like it's all dry. Like there's no like water in there anymore. And like I just see ducks walking on like cracked land. So yeah, that's an aside. So yeah, I hope that everyone takes this into consideration and be mindful of the environment and what they do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We hope our TAFAM watchers or listeners did learn a little bit about the effects of global warming. Next, we'll be playing a song by Yuk, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. The artist you were listening to was by Yuk. You can stream his music on Spotify at Yusaku Nakanu. If you are or know a local artist, send your music our way via email or DM at Terrio Marin to be mentioned on the show. We were last talking about some effects of global warming, and some domino effects of sea level rises. And we do want to add a little bit about our opinions of how we feel about sea level rises. So Min or Santi, do you guys want to add in what's your opinion towards sea level rises?
Sea level rising is just such an interesting topic because whether or not you believe in global warming, I know there are people who don't believe in global warming, but sea level rising, you can start seeing it now. You know, you can look at you can go on Google and search up, you know, the way the ocean was before and now how it is. And for a lot of people, because you don't live near the water, it doesn't matter. But like I said before, it affects the economy in a domino effect. So if people are affected, sooner or later, you will be affected of sea level rising. One of the things that I did was that I searched up about what are the effects of trash in the garbage. And that's when I searched up, sea level rising, because I did not know much about sea level rising until school. But as a student, sometimes you just learn and you're just like, oh, okay, that, it doesn't affect me now. But once I learned about it, I realized that I have to take care of my, what's it called? But it's the footprint that tracks, how many CO2 you're producing into the atmosphere. So how much you're driving, what you're using, and if that causes more CO2 to get in the ocean, in the air. So once I started searching up that, I started taking care of my footprint. So now I'm cautious about what I use, what I don't use. And like I said, it's important for us to take this, be aware of it and see how we can help. And sometimes helping is not necessarily, stop using cars that have gas, which is a very good thing. But sometimes it's in reality, sometimes it's not something we can do right away. So one of the things that you guys can be doing is sharing on Instagram, sharing on Snapchat, on Facebook, just spreading the word about making people see that sea level rising is not a joke, because it's not. It has a lot of effects: flooding, the economy, food, Annalie mentioned, diseases, wildfires, so many things that global warming causes, and it has a connection with sea level rising as well.
Like how you mentioned, how some people do not see like the impacts of global warming, and some people that do not believe in global warming. I think it's real because like we see it here in California with the fires, and I was like wondering like I wonder how Antarctica may be looking right now. Maybe it's totally so different from a few years ago. Like we may not see it like where we at right now, but maybe it's more obvious in places where it's so cold, and you can see more about how the ice glaciers are melting. I just think about like I worry about the polar bears, like where are they gonna live, once the ice is melted, where are they gonna, I know they do swim in cold water, but I don't think they can live longer if they like just swim in the water and they don't have a place where they can walk around on ice. And I like how Santi mentioned about some ideas of what our listeners can do, and it just reminded me of a thing that my teacher, a science teacher I had that did. She actually was keeping track about how much plastic she was using. So in order for her to do that, she just had a simple glass of jar, and she would put coins in order to see how much plastic she was using. And she only had like one or two. And I think she had specific coins for the type of amount of plastic there is. So like if there was a penny, maybe that was just like using a straw. Maybe a dime was buying a water bottle that has plastic, like stuff like that. Like she would do that, and I only saw like at least 2 coins or 3. But maybe that might motivate one of you guys to do that. It seems fun. Like you can keep track visually of how much plastic you're using, and if it fills up the jar, something is wrong. We just want to motivate you guys to do something different, and hopefully for the better.
I honestly like Annalie idea, because I feel like sometimes I'm using too much plastic and I feel bad for myself after that. Like I don't feel bad for myself, I feel bad for the environment, and then I trip myself, and then I feel bad even more. But definitely, I'll try to do that, Annalie. I would try. I like how you mentioned about like the effect on places that we don't the places that we don't usually go, like Antarctica. Yeah, it's actually I saw like a video on YouTube of someone filming like Antarctica before and after, and like how fast the ice has melted, and like how ships have run into parts of glacier that is like big parts of glacier in the middle of the ocean that's like in the middle of the Atlantic, things like that.
Yeah, and I think we over here in California we get to see more about us being more serious about straws for turtles. I know for Starbucks they're like using like a top that you don't need a straw for. It's just a drinkable top to use. But it still has plastic, and I'm guilty for that. So I don't know. Maybe there is reusable cups for Starbucks, so maybe we should try for that. But if you can't afford that, maybe you can save up and hopefully get one of those. But we hope this topic is informative for you guys, and I hope this interested you to do a little bit more research or watch a video of what Min just mentioned about before and after of Antarctica. I think that's very interesting to watch. Also documentaries, those are interesting as well. And if I would do that if I had more free time, because those are educative videos, and there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more educated. And yeah, sadly we are near the end of the show. We will provide some links below our video on Facebook, in case you guys do want to watch a documentary or a video that we did mention on the show, like the before and after of the Antarctica.
I just would like to say that remember that this is our home. We only have one Earth. So we have to do our best to take care of it. Sometimes I feel like we are humans. If we see that it doesn't affect us, we just leave it off. But in reality, this is our home. We only have one, and we need to take care of it. And it doesn't matter, if this will be the effects are in 10 years from now or 20 years from now. But if we could start doing something now, it's better to prevent things from happening rather than finding solutions when things already happened. We have to value it and take good care of it because we have nowhere else to go.
Well, thank you, Santi, for giving your last words. And we just want to thank all of you guys who are watching or listening to us through the end. We appreciate your time hearing and listening to us and supporting us. And we hope you all have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
The end of our show for the week. Make sure to catch us next Friday at 4 p.m. on Instagram and Facebook at Tay Radio Marin. Hope you enjoy the show. See you guys.